to his friends, it says. And social companions, Gomez, some guy, or lady, we don't know. Gomez seemed a pleasing combination of affable and yada yada. That's the first state. And then, his employees and business associates, however, found him to be as adjective as he was officious. What's the target? What is this blank, which is obviously an adjective, because we can just take a look at this list. All of them are adjectives. So this adjective is modifying whom or what? Can you tell? The first statement, from to his friends to
Gomez is a target?
this point, Gomez, right? Yes, kind of obvious, right? Not so difficult. Yeah, Gomez seemed a pleasing combination of blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so Gomez is the target. And interestingly, this clue, what is the clue here? And where should we be looking for the clue? Should we look for the clue somewhere else or in the same statement? What do you say?
No, in the second one.
In the second one?
Because you're going to have more information by reading the second sentence too.
Okay.
It is possible to have two clues?
Two clues? Sometimes the clue can be scattered. That's true. Yeah, it's possible as well. But here there is like something interesting, people. If we take a look at the phrase preceding the adjectives, doesn't that strike you, using your logic, that when you have a pleasing combination of something and something, these two somethings should be kind of compatible or should be kind of aligning us in some way? The idea here is that we need to look for two qualities that could combine. So that's why our first and most immediate clue should be the word affable itself. Okay, so we know what affable means. This is a word that conveys a kind, helpful attitude, right? And so Gomez seemed to possess that kind of quality. And what else could combine with affable? Could we say that affable could combine with something negative? Difficultly. We couldn't say a pleasing combination if the word here were to be negative. So we know that this is something that should align in meaning with clue. Now, why align? Because of the and. Again, this calls for the necessity to remember the basic rules of parallel constructions. In written English, when you put together two adjectives describing one person, you couldn't use and unless the two adjectives possess the same connotation. Connotation referring to whether the two ideas conveyed by those words are both positive or both negative in orientation. You couldn't say, for example, affable and destructive. No. Why not? Because the two don't possess the same connotation. You couldn't put together a positive and negative word linked together with and. If you have two words that contrast in meaning and perhaps contrast in connotation, one with a positive meaning, the other with a negative meaning, the conjunction to be used is not and. You need to use but instead. So we know that the and calls for an alignment of meanings between affable and the blank. And that's it. These are the rules of parallelism in written constructions. Yeah, if you had considered this before, yeah, good for you. If you haven't, now you know. You couldn't say, for example, affable and destructive. No, that's a mistake in English. Because if you want to say something like that, you need to connect the two adjectives using the appropriate conjunction. A conjunction that is used to connect opposite ideas or opposite meanings. Affable but destructive, for example. Okay, so the and here becomes our pivot, calling for a word that somehow could align with affable. In meaning, of course. So now it's time to look, we have our feeling. It should be something, right? Aligning with affable should be something like kind, well-mannered, helpful, etc. Any sort of word that could convey a similar meaning. Now, the thing is, among the choices for blank one, can you see a word that could be really parallel to affable?
Yes.
Which one, Saulo?
Letter B.
Complacent. Okay, nice. People, these two are excellent cognates of similar words in Spanish. Pernicious, pernicioso, right? And you know what, pernicioso doesn't sound like a positive word. So that's why we can cross it out on the spot. No, you couldn't say affable and pernicious. That would be a grammar mistake. You have to say affable but pernicious, for example. And complacent, complaciente, right? So you remember this word. This is a person who is willing or positive to please other people. Right? Usually, someone that's easily convinced to do what other people want. Okay, so that's complacent. It could align well with affable, good. What about mercurial? Mercurial is an interesting word. Remember the Roman god, of time and haste, Mercury, right? The Greek Hermes, Mercury for the Romans. What was Mercury like? Mercury was fast, right? And always moving around. Mercury was never settled down in one same location. So mercurial comes from this idea. It's something that changes very often. Usually something or someone who is very changeable in their moods. So you could say like volatile, perhaps. Okay? That's mercurial. So clearly that doesn't fit either, a good match with affable. So here we have our match for the first blank. So Gomez was apparently affable and complacent. Then we have the second blank and the second statement. Notice that here we have an interesting expression. So this, however, leads us to think that unlike the first statement, the second statement is not meant to praise, perhaps, Gomez, right? It says his employees and business associates. Notice the difference. On one hand, a group of people, a certain social, we could say, environment for Gomez, friends and social companions, different from employees and business associates. So, to some people, to his people, Gomez projected some image. But at work, the thing was different. How do we know that the thing was different? Because of the however. And now we see that here there are two adjectives as well. They consider him something in the same manner they consider him officious. So we know that for this blank 2, the target continues to be Gomez. And now we have, on one hand, affable. Now we're looking for something. Gomez apparently was affable, but probably we need to look for something different, right? Because it says however, and there is this comparison with Gomez being officious. If I say about someone that I consider that person as hardworking, as discreet, so what does that mean? That I attribute the same level of those two qualities to that person, right? So what is officious anyway? Now here is the thing. Officious has to do with what? Well, you know, this word, not so common in spoken English. Perhaps you could relate it with office. Yeah, but in this case, that kind of hint is not very apparent as to the real meaning of the word. Officious means an annoying person who tries to tell other people what to do. So, the key is understanding this word tells us what we need to do. We are looking for two words that are very opposite in meaning to the words in the first statement. While Gomez, on one hand, was considered by some affable and complacent, from the point of view of another group, you know, in the working environment, Gomez was considered two other things, not so good, because officious has a negative connotation. Okay, a person, a bossy person, a person telling other people what to do. That's officious. And the fact that here it uses the expression that word appears in this structure as, and here was officious. So we need something that could be related to being officious, perhaps paralleling meaning to officious. If we take a look at, so we know what our feeling should be, right?
Mhm.
Something parallel to officious. What could it be, do you think? Meddlesome, prescient, or puerile? Have you heard the expression Prescient? Prescience? The ability to foresee future events? what a prophet does, right? So, these kind of psychics who see future events. Yeah, that's prescient, right? Something that can be foreseen. So clearly, this has nothing to do with officious. And pueril, well, this is the same as childish or immature. Actually, we have that word in Spanish as well. Pueril, right? Infantil. So, that aligns with officious? Hardly. So, we have nothing left but meddlesome. Maybe if you know by heart the verb to meddle, then you are safe because meddlesome has a direct connection with the verb to meddle. A meddlesome person is a person who likes to meddle all the time. And what is to meddle? To come in between two persons or to come in between someone and their own business. That's a meddlesome person. A person who interferes with the activities and concerns of other people, usually in an unwanted or unwelcome way. You know persons like that? You are considering some issues of your own business, and someone willingly gives you an opinion on what you are doing or you are pondering. What for? I didn't ask for your opinion, so you are meddlesome. Okay? So clearly, this word aligns well with officious. Yeah, with being bossy, telling other people what to do all the time, right? Yeah. Also interfering, okay, in an unwanted way. So that's why meddlesome has to be our choice in this case. Well, this kind of analysis help us get ready with a prediction of our own, even before looking at the choices. Okay? Instead of directly trying the choices, we have 3 times 3, totally 9 possibilities, 9 combinations. Instead of trying each and every of the possible 9 combinations of these sets of adjectives in the choices, we can first make an effort to predict what comes in the blanks, and then use our process of elimination to spot the correct one.